AE and get to catch up with what's happening. And the Situation Room is exactly where we are at, looking at some of the stories that are making headlines. Eric, have you ever had ambitions of being vice president
No.
of this country?
No.
Why not? I think you have a good brain, between the ears, and you articulate things pretty well. Why would you not want to aspire for deputy president? City, you look at me like I'm cuckoos.
I wouldn't venture to actually even offer an opinion on your state of mind, but I'm actually thinking, why are you limiting Eric to deputy? Why?
Yeah, I'm wondering. So
Yes, there's the presidency, there's governor. Eric could even be MCA. Why are you only limiting him to the deputy president?
Well, in this particular case, because there seems to be a curse that maybe he might be able to lift.
And what is this curse, sir?
The curse, according to the Daily Nation, is the curse of Kenya's vice president. I think apart from Moi, we've not had any other vice president ascend to president, as in
Kibaki.
But not from vice president to
not
president.
from vice to president.
Yeah, he had to, go around the block a few times, then come back and give it a shot. But yeah, apparently it's a poisoned chalice. And looking at our current deputy president, it looks like there could be some credence to that story. The fact that
None whatsoever.
The seat is dogged.
Why not?
None whatsoever. None.
How many presidents have we had?
Yes.
So far, we've had, 3, 4?
This is the fourth.
Kenyatta,
4 presidents.
Moi,
Right?
This is the fourth.
Kibaki.
Don't count the years.
presidents.
Count the actual
Count the
people
men.
who actually been in that position.
Apart from Jomo Kenyatta, who did not have to rise from being a deputy to president, now the others are the ones who had the opportunity, all right? And 2 of them have been deputy president, vice president, and have become president.
Yes.
So what is the issue here? 2 out of 3 who could probably come from vice president to president have become president. What's the issue?
Maybe the issue is the number of vice presidents we've had, because there are many.
Yes, true.
We've had very, very many. If you count, there are 9. Well, in fact, let's count, shall we?
They're 12.
No, they're not 12. Jaramogi,
Murumbi, Moi,
Kibaki,
Josephat Karanja,
Saitoti,
Mwai
Kibaki, Mudavadi,
Mudavadi, yes.
Kijana
Kalonzo
Wamalo.
What number are we at now?
We're at
10.
10,
Yes,
11.
I'm telling you we're 12. All right, go on.
And then William Ruto, 12.
Moody Awori.
13.
13.
Kwa hivyo.
Hivyo
Vile
basi.
tunasema.
Hivyo basi.
Ni kwamba.
I think here is one of those cases again where we were talking about these things last week. What is the story here? What's the source of the analytical story on the front page?
And
The source is William Ruto. I mean, let's just get to
What's the story?
into
That
it.
there's a curse of deputy president because what? Has William Ruto not become president? If William Ruto had not risen to become president after an election, then we'd be saying, oh, look, even William
He
Ruto.
joins the statistics.
The
Yeah,
question
he
that's
joins the
posed,
statistics. What's the
however, is
issue?
only a few deputy presidents have escaped humiliation. Is history repeating itself?
And what is this humiliation that they're
Deputy
speaking of?
President William Ruto says the system is out to stop him. Whether or not he'll break the jinx and become the first to succeed a living president remains to be seen. This is the story.
Oh, the story is about the humiliation while in office.
Right.
Supposed humiliation.
And if he will actually,
But what form does this humiliation take?
In whatever form. Jaramogi's, there was humiliation. There was
No, that was
isolation.
just a parting of ways.
Yeah.
Parting of ways. Remember, Jaramogi is the one who left. He left and formed a party.
Yes.
Yes.
And by the time he was leaving, was it amicable? It wasn't.
Yes, but that necessarily it doesn't.
There was conflict. There
yes,
was
it's just conflict.
Conflict between
See,
the
word
president and
humiliation
the
is
vice
what I have
president.
issues with, because if people have political differences, and somebody makes a decision based on the difference, where's the humiliation?
Even with Ruto, really, if we looked at it, even if they parted ways and had a difference of thought within Jubilee Party, it's not necessarily humiliation. I think it's just that they have decided to go separate ways.
Yes, if it's a question of separation, then it means you've differed maybe on a principle, and you figured the best thing to do is for me to step down. And this is what even yesterday's papers were talking about. They were saying, if you read, for instance, the article,
The column by
Macharia
Gaido.
Gaido, this is what he was saying. I would argue that the Vice President Jaramogi Oginga Odinga differed with Kenyatta, and he stepped down. He said, "Okay, there's no
enough is enough.
We don't need to continue because we clearly don't see eye to eye. I will move away." That's what is done, and the argument was the deputy president, the first deputy president actually we've had since this, because we've never had a deputy president before. He has decided he's staying put. And yet everything about him seems to suggest that he and his principal have differed completely.
Yeah, but there's also the isolation and humiliation. There is that. I mean, we can't run away
where
from
is
that
it?
fact.
I want someone to
Isolation
explain
may
it
be
to me.
humiliation.
We
not.
can't run away from
No,
that.
I want someone to explain to me where the isolation is and where the humiliation
No,
is,
isolation.
and how it manifests itself.
The isolation, I would say, is the fact that the deputy president will say one thing. I mean, let's just take BBI because that's what's top of mind. Or he'll say one thing and the president will say something totally different, or
Vice versa.
gestualize or something different, or vice versa. You'll have
When
the
did-
president say that we'll do things this way. The deputy president will.
And
go
when
do
did
the
this
direct
begin?
opposite.
Remember during the happier
handshake.
during happier days when everybody wore a red tie and a white shirt, huh?
Yeah, they were dressing
It
alike.
started
And they were
9th of
basically
March
And
two
speaking
years
everybody
ago,
spoke after the other.
2018.
Yes.
Precisely at
in the
4 o'clock,
initial
right?
years
Yes.
of bromance, you saw that. I mean, there was cordial relations. Now you don't see the cordial relations. Even looking at how, when is the last time you saw the deputy president presiding over some big function in government? In the first,
I actually don't know because
in the last
those
government, you
ones
used to
passed me
see
by.
you used to see it constantly. You're like, if you're watching the news and you're observing the news or sitting in the newsroom, you'd see this is a function by a state organization, a state agency. It was presided over by the deputy president. This deputy president was making pronouncements here. He delivered a speech here, a keynote address here and there. When's the last time you saw that? That tells you something. And when he says, "I'm the deputy president, I know what I'm talking about," I think there's clearly something that he's saying. Look, I have actually been pushed to a corner. He's
Yeah,
not
that's
the
what
only one.
he- but that's
we
what
also
he's
saw,
saying.
We also saw in the other previous deputy presidents, we can say, for example, that in the years of George Saitoti, when he was being, wewe toka, wewe rudi, stay out in the cold, you don't know whether you're going to be reappointed or not. That's the kind of treatment that we're talking
Did
about.
Joyce Saitoti resign?
He didn't, and he didn't have to. The issue is not about resigning. The story here is talking about those kind of treatments.
I still don't see the humiliation.
Isolation.
I still don't see it again because has the deputy president been prevented from conducting his functions? Has he been hampered? Have we read anywhere that he's unable to ensure that the duties that are assigned to him or the duties that are within the purview of his office are not being conducted because government resources have been denied him?
Without the proclamation of such, to say, even by himself, where we've seen him speak out on other issues, without him saying, I've been locked out, I've not been able to, oversee state functions, for example, then it would be that he chooses to step aside or be away from the limelight by choice. That he sees that, certain people are in the heat of the party and he's on the outside, not because he was not invited to, but because he has
But
deliberately
he
taken
is the
a
deputy
stance.
president, as he correctly puts it, and he is in government. I want to understand the isolation. Where is it?
The
Silly
fact
question.
that the bromance is no longer there,
No.
and they say 70% of communication is body language. So the body language tells us that there is definitely a drift.
Right. Let me perhaps throw something into the ring and consider this. This is what he says, along with other things that have been attributed to the deputy president. There is now what I would call a mantra, the why me. Every time there's something, it's like, why am I the one being targeted? Why are my people being targeted? Why this? Now, the why me has been so consistent in communication related to the deputy president that you'd actually believe that he's the one who says this all the time. And then you actually hear it on these clips, unless we're saying they're doctored. If you are in the media long enough and you're always making pronouncements, then two things are likely to happen. One, you'll get a lot of attention, but two, people will start disregarding the things you say because,
You're all over.
yes,
Okay.
even when what you're saying may really be very true, it'll be, he's at it again.
Okay, well, some reprieve for somebody else down south. Ramaphosa has been cleared of campaign fund irregularities. We know that he was taken to court. And this was he won, backed by the opposition economic freedom fighters. He was not found, or rather absolved, of any guilt. It was said, and the case was that it's a court ruling. That it was said that the case that was brought against him was 500,000 rand, or $31,500, was payment as found by public prosecutor. But then the ruling was that he did not intentionally mislead Parliament, because this is what the issue was, that he misled Parliament about what particular money was for. The full bench of the court found the public prosecutor did not have the jurisdiction to investigate Ramaphosa, and reviewed and set aside the prosecutor's findings that the president misled Parliament about the donation he received from the controversial company as he squared off in that particular election. So his hands now essentially are clean.
Well, the Standard put it interesting that he's been cleared of money laundering.
Take 3 steps up, yes.
Cleared of money laundering.
Yes, but what I find particularly interesting is that a serving president is actually in court, their own court,
Yes.
and he's had to go through the process. And of even greater interest, the former immediate president of that particular country is still in court. Yes.
It's an interesting.
Yes.
That's something interesting.
It is something interesting and something that we should take note of, that presidents can be taken to court.
To court while sitting.
While
Yes.
sitting.
While sitting.
And interestingly, the same public prosecutor is said to be very good friends with Jacob Zuma, who, as you said, is in court over some of these same kinds of corruption allegations throughout his term in office. And she is the same one then who was now taking Ramaphosa's case.
You know, Jacob Zuma's
part of the
problem is a bit
government.
compounded because, one, it isn't something to do with an election. It has to do with high-handed business people who, unfortunately, in certain circles, are considered a bit shifty.
Right, and they would give themselves the labels of economic freedom fighters, whereas they're fully fledged business. They're businessmen who've come together,
By the way,
giving it a different name,
remember-
but it's all about the money.
Remember, economic freedom fighters is a name that's almost similar to a certain party within the South African political landscape. Huh?
Yep.
Yes, and it's headed by a firebrand whose name is...
Julius Malema.
Thank you very much. Yes, so... And you can understand, if you listen to the utterances that Malema makes, many of them have to do with the economic situation of South Africa.
Yes.
And the disparity that he feels actually exists.
And not receiving what they wanted to achieve.
And what they said. And he doesn't spare anyone. Ramaphosa wasn't spared, Jacob Zuma wasn't spared, and the white tribe in South Africa are also not spared.
Shoots from the hip. This is a situation room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, broadcasting on Spice FM and KTN Morning Express. Let's take a brief break and then come back at 6:45. Remember, you can tune in to this live stream on Spice FM KE, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as www.spicefm.co.ke.